You are listening to Ace Comicals. I'm Greg, and today I'm joined by my co-host Leon. Let's go! Welcome to episode number 57 of Ace Comicals, where I am joined only by Leon tonight.
Hello.
Yes, so it's going to be a short one, I think, because February was a bit of a dry month for me, comics-wise, anyway, because I've looked back through my pull list from the previous couple of weeks, and yeah.
Well, has it been slim pickings?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I don't... The problem I have is, like, peeking behind the curtain, I buy a lot of comics and I follow a lot of different series and I talk about them here, and I don't want to keep talking about the same comics all the time. So in an effort to not keep talking about the same comics, like I mean there's obviously new stuff that I'm always interested in, but I always like to try and keep this fresh and keep it fresh, keep what I'm talking about fresh. So I don't like to go back too often to the same series. I don't like to keep going, and review every single issue of Batman, for example, or something like that, because that's not what we're trying to do.
Yeah, plus it's hard because then you enter a period where it ends up with spoiler territory, where you're on like issue 8 or something, and it's the end of an arc, and you can't even talk about anything specifically without having to spoil it. And it is one of the challenges that is posed with us trying to get the perfect balance between, say, keeping up to date with what's out, what's new, what's interesting, but also being able to stick the landing and report back on comics that or runs, volumes, whatever, that have ended or finished. So it makes it really hard, and sometimes for me, I find that by the time I've got around to finishing, it's hard to bring it back up. So I've been trying to make an effort of on the next podcast I'm on, talking about the thing that I finished that I may have first spoken about a year ago. But I think it is important to talk about like completed runs. But it is a challenge that I have as well, because there's a few things where I've been reading like issue 5 and 6, and it's like there's not really much I can speak about until either this run ends or like the whole thing finishes.
Exactly, because you can't just you would be spoiling it, as you quite rightfully mention, and it's the kind of thing where you would need other people to have read it to be able to discuss it. So I can't just dive in and start talking about issue 98 of something and expect you to get it and be able to have a conversation with me about it on this show, because that's not going to happen if I've read 98 issues and you've only read 5, you know?
Yeah.
So that's just how this is. But yeah, so it's going to be quite a short show for you guys, but that's short on content, not quality. So it's going to be it's going to be a short show time wise, but hopefully the quality is still the same, and hopefully you'll enjoy it all the same. So I'm going to open up by get the usual preamble out of the way, and I'm going to say that I've been playing Tetris 99, which is Battle Royale Tetris, for those of you who haven't yet found videos of people, Gen Z and millennial streamers getting beaten by boomers and Gen Xers.
The real question here, Greg, is can you make the T block do a cool dance?
Oh, can I do what is it called? T spins.
Oh yeah, I guess that is the cool dance of this one.
Yeah.
I'm not ripped off from anybody in this case, so that's cool.
Yeah. I can. Well, you can't do cool dances. There's no, you don't get to choose where you drop. You get to choose where you drop the block, but you don't get to choose where you drop. And
so how does this work?
It's so basically
for our audience.
Yeah, the game just throws you straight into it, and you get your normal Tetris screen. And if you've ever played puzzle games in a battle format, so Puyo Puyo, that type of thing, where when you get a combo or a row, you send blocks over to your opponent's screen, and it forces them to make mistakes and messes up their game because it fills their screen up quicker. Same way that which is basically Puyo Puyo, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bee Machine, things like that. It's the same, and Gem Fighters. It's that kind of thing. But imagine that, but 99 people at once. So you are playing Tetris and you are playing Battle Tetris, but you are playing Battle Tetris against 99 other people, and you get to decide who out of those 99 other people you are attacking, who you want to send blocks to. You can do that a number of ways because it's got preset. You can preset it to auto attack people with the most KOs, or auto attack people with that are close to dying, or auto attack people that are attacking you. Yeah. Or you can. There is a way for you to actually just select specific people. But what it looks like when it's in front of you, because it just drops you straight in, and you have your Tetris screen in the middle. Your Tetris what do they even call it? Where you put the blocks?
The matrix,
I guess.
The grid,
yeah, your grid or whatever in front of you, and then you can see in small around you there are 98 other grids on the screen, either side of yours, and they're tiny, so you can kind of almost see what your opponent's doing. You get kind of you get an idea of what your opponents are doing by looking at their screen. You can basically, all you can get from it, from a quick glance from looking away from what's going on yours, is how full their screen is and whether they're
pretty much. Yeah, there's no time. There is no time to be analysing.
Yeah, you've got to be a Jedi, I suppose, but it's you'd have to be a Jedi. You'd have to, but it's good because it's fun, it's fast. There's no huge waiting times for anything, and it's just it's if you like puzzle games and you like Tetris, it's cool. And I find that as far as online gaming goes, I don't get as annoyed with it as I do with when you lose an online game.
Yeah, you think that? Yeah, I was going to say, do you think that's because when the game ends, you can just jump straight into a new one?
I think it's because it feels less personal, because you are just playing Tetris, and you don't, although you are playing Tetris against other people and people are targeting you and everything else, you don't really feel like that.
Well, I guess it's because they're not assigned names. You're not even told who you're killed by or anything like that, or who you kill. The only time you ever see names is when you inevitably die, or if you're lucky enough, when you see some of the names around you of the usernames, and they're all generic because it's the Switch.
Yeah.
But it is. I don't know. Sometimes it does feel personal when I'm getting when I see 4 people attacking me, and I'm like, I haven't done anything. The game's just started. How do you know?
Yeah. I mean, there must an element of collusion or something, but how can they? Because it's entirely random. I know. But
how have you been doing?
I usually place. I can get into the top 50. I can place in the top 20, 30s, usually around there. I haven't broken into the teens yet. My girlfriend does better than I do. She's very good at Tetris, so she manages to place higher than me. She places into the teens and things like that, so she's way better than I am at it.
How does she? I was going to say, how does she handle the? Because the elements, the normal Tetris elements are there in terms of whether you go high skill or low skill, how you manipulate, how you drop the blocks and stuff like that, how you defend against people attacking you. If it's you're playing B mode where you've got garbage blocks, but the newer element on this to a degree is choosing how you attack other people. How does she handle that? Is that just something that she just dived into?
Yeah, I mean, the way we play it, Sophie will just sit on random. So, like, she'll sit with it set to random because she doesn't draw aggro as much. And it doesn't, like, you can kind of hang under the radar a little bit. We've found if you sit on random, you are less likely to get targeted at the beginning. Whereas if you start putting yourself on attackers or things like that, then
it gets dangerous.
It gets dangerous, yeah, because when someone attacks you, you attack them straight back.
Yeah,
and it becomes
That's the thing. If you set it onto what's it called, attackers, which is the one where if someone attacks you, that will get you. If you do that right at the beginning, you'll probably won't make it to 90. That one is so savage.
From watching her play, I could probably take a few points from it because she literally just hangs under the radar, and that's how she manages to last so long. Which it's really cool watching it because I can never do that. It's just great.
That's why it's interesting because, like, when I first placed 13, which was for a while my highest one, I left it on random the whole time.
Yeah.
And then subsequently after that, I just kept getting crapped on leaving it on random. It was just luck of the draw. So when I started getting into using the KO technique and getting badges from killing people, that's when I got my highest so far, which has been 9th. But I've not even been able to get I've not even been able to get to 13 again for a long time. But yeah, after 9th, I usually like crap out in the 30s or the 20s these days. Occasionally I'll get back into the teens, but I just have some bad runs.
Maybe it just matchmakes you on skill, so it probably takes into account past performance and puts you with other people that score a lot of KOs. I don't know. I
think part of it is the luck of the draw, because sometimes I'll leave it on random, and maybe that one of the random people that the game's decided to point it at is someone who's a beast, and then I get crapped on. Whereas other games, I'll have it on random, and that person might be a noob like me. But then it feels so good when you're lining up for like some combos, so you go like, I've got a Tetris, and enough of that I can get a double. You turn it to KOs and you go, and then you just see those badges fly over, and you're like, yeah.
You see, I struggle to break 20, and you can call yourself a noob when you're hitting numbers like 13 and 9. I don't get it.
I think it's weird though, because I've never been great at Tetris. Like, the only Tetris that I put any time into was the Game Boy one when I was a kid. Since then, I've not really been in the Tetris world. I used to hear a lot about the tech, like T-spins and all that, and being like, what? You can do that now? But I've not really delved into it since then. So I don't know if it's something of where it's like just different puzzle games I've played over the years are translating, or if it's because I do some of my best multiplayer work in the clutch, like when you need it, or where if I don't do this thing right now, it's over. But yeah, there's definitely a gulf between people who can consistently get those places and me, and there's definitely a tinge of luck there. Because I think if you could do head-to-head games with people, you guys would completely shit on me.
So yeah, I mean, it's great, and it's a great little multiplayer game, and it's fun. And I mean, I do enjoy puzzle games. I've got another Tetris game on the Switch as well. I've got this Tetris Puyo Fusion game that was on sale over Christmas, so I went ahead and bought that. And I've been using that as practice mode. But the thing with that is you don't get the urgency that you get when there's 98 other people on your ass.
Stress.
So yeah, exactly. So yeah, but it's fun. It's fun anyway. So yeah, that's Tetris 99. That's pretty much what I've been doing over the past 2 weeks, apart from reading comics and doing other comics adjacent stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive into the first comics news item that we're going to bring up today, because we don't, in lieu of things to review, I've decided to talk about things that I'm excited about instead.
That's good.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you that Stan Sakai has moved Usagi Yojimbo to IDW from Dark Horse. So, everyone's favourite Rabbit Samurai and Rabbit Wanderer is now getting published by IDW instead of Dark Horse, and that starts this summer, I believe.
So what are the implications of this?
Well, I mean, they relaunched... So last year, they finished the numbering, the original numbering of the Usagi on Dark Horse, and then they began numbering from 1 again. And they did a short... They went so far with that, but then he's moved it over onto IDW, and I think it's going to be coloured now instead of just remaining black and white.
Oh, cool.
And so he's now able to present them in a vibrantly coloured way, which is kind of cool. I'm kind of up for that. And it's also, because it's going to be on the same label as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and things like that, I think it's going to make it. It's probably going to make collaborations a lot more frequent, and I love the whole kind of like running collab and the sort of like running parallel of Turtles and Usagi. I mean, I got into Usagi through Turtles, and I love it when the two cross paths because they're so well suited to each other as things that should exist in the same universe, and I quite like the idea of that happening more often now. I mean, it happened a lot anyway, but I feel like now that they're both together in the same place, both properties, it might happen more often. It might be something we see more of, and it's something I'm quite excited about. And I'm excited to be able to pick up colour Usagi comics from IDW, and I think that begins this summer. So I'm quite pumped for that.
Yeah, that is pretty cool because I'd wondered about that in the past because I know that you're a big fan of these, and I like read a couple in my past many moons ago, and I wondered how all these collaborations were happening because I always thought of them as being in the same universe. So it's cool now that now they're under the same roof. What the options will be?
Yeah, I think previously as well. I think way back once upon a time they were previously under the same roof as well. So yeah, there was a point when Usagi was published by Mirage Comics and
yes,
and Turtles was on Mirage as well.
Yeah.
So there was a point in history where they've been on the same label before, so it has happened. But now they're back together again in the same place, so it just feels natural to have them in the same place. I'm quite excited about Usagi joining the IDW verse, I guess, because I mean we we'll probably see him popping up a lot more often or we'll probably see the Turtles popping up a lot more often in Usagi books and so forth. And it's just such a wonderful comic. I'm just glad that it's continuing to get published. And I'm glad that it'd be nice to start. It will be nice to start seeing it in color, and yeah, I'm just happy really about the fact that it's gonna be on the same place as Turtles again. Really, so that's it. But yeah, it's a big thing for me anyway, and that's gonna happen in the summer. They're gonna publish the first one, and it's gonna be like a number one on IDW in colour, and there's going to be some cool variants. Various places on the internet telling us there's going to be some cool variants because it's like going to have a selection of covers. There's going to be one by Daniel Warren Johnson, who's your guy from Murder Falcon and Extremity, which we've talked about on the show. Obviously, Kevin Eastman's going to get a crack. So yeah, I'm down.
It's a very Greg-centric good news.
It is, yes, indeed. Yeah, I'm going to probably read some more Usagi before then, or go back and read some of the various tomes I've got on my shelf, because I've got some of the collected editions, and probably talk about them a little bit on here. Moving on from there, I should probably end the Usagi amble actually by saying that, last year it was announced that they were going to make an Usagi cartoon, which I'm excited about as well. That was like way back. That was like this time last year they announced that. So
Has there been any more news on that?
Not yet, no, not that I've found. But when that comes to fruition, I'm sure I'll be talking about that on here as well. And speaking of things that get adapted, I can move on to my second thing, which is the comic I was going to talk about today, which is Sharky the Bounty Hunter #1, which is part of the Miller World thing, which is Mark Miller. I should probably start by explaining Miller World. Miller World is Mark Miller's creator-owned comics line thing that he does, which is basically all his stuff, all his ideas. And Miller World has been bought by Netflix in the same way that DC is owned by Warner Brothers. Miller World is owned by Netflix, and all of the things that all of the things that come out now as comics from Miller World will also be adapted by Netflix into movies and shows and so forth. And this is like the latest one in a line, basically. This is Sharky the Bounty Hunter. And Netflix plan to adapt this into a movie. So this is going to get a feature-length movie, and apparently we're getting that in 2020. And this movie is going to be written by Michael Bacall. So you may know him as the guy from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and 21 Jump Street. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah. So to kick off, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read you the blurb. So the official kind of previews world blurb for this book goes... set in a brilliant new sci-fi universe, Sharky is a blue-collar bounty hunter who tracks criminals across the galaxy in his converted rocket-powered ice cream truck. Aided and abetted by his 10-year-old partner, he's out for the biggest bounty of his career. So we've got this sci-fi fantasy world, and we've got this purple-skinned bounty hunter who looks like a cross between Thanos and Lemmy. Is the easiest way to put it, yeah. And if you look up a picture of him, Leon, you'll see where I'm coming from. But he's basically Thanos meets Lemmy, and he is he's basically he's been offered this one big score, but obviously this one big score is being offered to a lot of other bounty hunters, and I think he's going to have to fight his way into it and out of it again, and that's going to be the whole thing. It's going to be him versus a bunch of other shady guys, and it's just fun from the get-go. I mean, the easiest way for me to describe this as a comic, to describe what you're jumping into when you open this book and start flicking through the pages, is it's like this sci-fi fantasy, so science fantasy with grit, and it's got this air of Valerian about it and a little bit of Fifth Element. And it's just great fun, especially like in the way that some of the characters dress, like the fashion and everything else. It's very Valerian, very Fifth Element in that way, which is kind of cool. So you got this tough bounty hunter, and I think the fact that he looks a bit like Lemmy is no accident, and the whole thing's pretty rock and roll. Yeah, it's just it's a beautiful book from the get go as well. We've got Simone Bianchi doing the colours and art himself together, which gives it like this beautiful synergy as well, because it's one guy doing both. And although, I mean, you get some awesome partnerships with colouring and pencils, or colouring and lines in other books, with this, it's like it's something else, because it's different when you've got one person doing it. The same way it's different when you've got like a comic that's written and drawn by the same person. It just has a synergy that you can't kind of get. I think it's hard to get that elsewhere.
Yeah, because I think it's the difference between what you usually get and what one of the great strengths of comic books are is collaboration, creating art. So what you get is something different but equally amazing when you do have, say, one person doing multiple roles. There's sort of a unified vision in a way. But yeah, I think it's it's a very much a case of a different a different thing that's achieved, a different style that you get, and like there's pluses and minuses on both. But yeah, definitely.
Exactly, yeah. And it's beautiful art anyway, because it's Simone Bianchi, and he's the guy who he worked with Jason Aaron on personal favourite of mine, Thanos Rising, which explores the origins of Thanos. So that mini-series, which I've got collected in a hardback, that is really cool. And it's just like these great pencils that and like watercolours, and everything's just like really beautifully detailed and drawn, and everything kind of comes to life. Everything is wonderfully finished and super three-dimensional in a way, kind of like hyper comic art coming off the page, because it's just so well rendered that you can almost imagine it, like you can imagine it as reality, but it at the same time you know that it's not photographs, if you understand what I'm saying. It's a weird thing to try and describe, but it's so nice, and some of the use of perspective and everything else, it's just so like beautifully done. And
like a hyper-realism style that instead of giving you the uncanny valley, instead it affords them a way to present inner thoughts and emotion in a way more perceivable way.
Yes, I guess that's the best way to put it, yeah.
Well, it's a way to put it, probably not the best.
Yeah, you're better with words than I am, but yeah. I think you've pretty much nailed it there. So yeah, it's got this this really cool look going on, and we've got like these muted colours in the background, which are in direct contrast to the way that the different alien races are represented and coloured and everything else, which really makes them pop off the page, which also gives these different alien species and races this like unique personality as well, because everyone's different colours and everyone's got like a different thing going on, like different shapes, different fashions, things like that. And I think that's pretty fantastic in itself, in the fact that everything and everyone in this is so unique, like on every page.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to achieve something like that.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, it's a gorgeous comic, and I'm quite looking forward to seeing this adapted as a film, actually, because I think it might make a cool movie. Looking at what I'm getting here from number one. There's some really cool moments in here where the action is very nicely illustrated, and there's a double page spread in particular, pages 5 and 6 of the comic, I think, and it's this whole point where Sharky is in a bar, and this is like his introduction, the introduction to who we're dealing with basically in the story, and he meets a Mark that he's about to take down and collect a bounty on, and all of a sudden everything goes pear-shaped, and this guy can split himself into multiple smaller guys, and there's this beautiful use of perspective where Sharky's firing a bullet from his gun, but it's going through, and there's a bunch of little guys diving off in all different directions, and this double page spread is just the absolute chaos that ensues after that, where all these like little miniature versions of this one guy trying to escape, and Sharky obviously catches him in the end, and takes him in, and then this is how we meet his 10-year-old friend who is described in the blurb. This is how we meet this kid, because this kid was apparently being looked after by the guy that Sharky took in, so now it is Sharky's responsibility to make sure this kid gets to another family member somewhere on another planet in another galaxy. And that's why this kid has to end up tagging along, and that's where it all goes. It all spirals off from there, I think. That's pretty much it, and it's deliciously science fantasy, and it's as alien as it gets, basically, in that moment where this guy splits into multiple little guys, and it's just great. And there's these great action shots, kind of like these freeze frames, and yeah, I mean, I already love this world. I already love some of the designs for the alien races, and I just love how madcap it all is. And it's got that kind of like that Mark Millar sense of humour, I guess. So that sense of humor and grit that you would get with, you get it with like Kick-Ass and Wanted and Kingsman.
Yeah, it's dry and very dark.
Yeah, it's got
twisted.
It's got a little bit of that going on, I guess, in place. Yeah, it's kind of got that air about it. I'm getting that already from it. It's kind of cool. Yeah, it's got the grit and the violence, but it's got everything else as well. So yeah, it's got all of that. It's great. And yeah, it's a good read, and I cannot wait to see where this goes. And yeah, Thanos Kilmister, or whatever, if you want to call him that, which I do now. He's pretty cool. There's this one bit that stuck out for me, actually. This conversation he has with the guy at the bar about being bald. Because Sharky has this kind of like horseshoe do, because he's completely bald on top, and he's got like huge sideburns and a mustache. And this other guy's totally bald, and he's saying, no, I've been, talking about how he was losing his hair since he was 22, decided it was time to shave it all off. And Sharky's reply is, see, I never got that. I never got the logic of that. That's like getting a paper cut and chopping off your entire arm. What kind of man throws a tantrum with his own head?
It sounds like it effectively like demonstrates it's just sort of grumpy outlook and sort of common sense seeking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just that's what it is. Yeah, but I thought that was I just love this whole sequence where they're at the bar and the way it builds tension into this pop where it's gloriously sci-fi. But yeah, that whole sequence in the bar where the tension builds is great. For an opening sequence of a comic, it's fantastic, and I actually think the way this is written and put together has been done with the fact that it is to be adapted into a movie in mind. Because this, as an opening scene or a character introduction in a movie, would work really well as well, I think.
Do you think that's just how Mark Miller writes now, considering his previous success with adaptations?
You think he just writes things expecting people to turn them into films? I don't know, maybe. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. But he's certainly doing it here from what I can tell. Yeah. I feel like that's what he's doing. I really do. And the way it's written, the way it flows, even like down to the way this comic's done with the panel layouts and everything else. I just feel like this has been done. This is kind of, yes, it's a comic, but it's also like this is going to be what they're going to have these like separated pages as like a storyboard. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it's possible because I remember hearing that's what Robert Rodriguez did with a lot of Sin City, the first one at least.
Yeah. So I mean, I can see this being really nice to adapt, and it's gonna be a cool sci-fi flick when they do adapt it. Anyway, if that's your thing, I mean, a lot of people. I mean, I can't remember. Did people not enjoy Valerian at the cinema? Because I liked it.
Well, Valerian is a weird one where it was high budget, but like independent. But it was just one of those movies that you just knew just the way it was being marketed and the far out there concept. It's not something that was going to make its money back. I think maybe it's before its time, or maybe missed a window when the best time for it to come out would have been. But yeah, it felt like one of those things where it's like, it'll be a mega surprise to me if this makes its money back, because the budget was quite high, like north of 100 million, but it just seems, it just felt like it didn't connect the buzz, and maybe it's because the marketing wasn't done that well or whatever, because like I quite enjoyed that movie. I've got some issues with it, particularly I think that Dane DeHaan is miscast, and I like Dane DeHaan, but the role feels like it's meant to be some Han Solo type character, and everyone's going on how badass he is and stuff like that, and I was like, nah, I'm not saying it. But like, and I think that it's a mistake if you've got some Rihanna, use a lot of Rihanna. Don't use a little bit of Rihanna, use a lot of Rihanna. But yeah, I enjoyed it, despite some of my misgivings. It had a lot of ideas, and at the very least, it visually was something completely different. It definitely had that wild energy of the Fifth Element, but like done now. So I would have liked. I guess it always comes back to like the screenplay as well. I think if that was tighter, there's a chance that it could have hit. But part of me feels like in 5 years or something, or maybe 10 years, people will be revisiting it and it'll become like a cult hit.
I feel like this is going to be a dirtier version of Fifth Element or Valerian, as in like a less bright version, a more like a more kind of like a gritty, dusty version.
Rusty.
A bit more rusty, bit more rock and roll than those. But yeah, it's definitely got that going on. And this Sharky guy, I like him. So yeah, let's go with it. Thanos Kilmister, let's call him that from now on. He's purple and he looks like Lemmy. He's what else am I going to call him? You know. But yeah, you'll see, if you. I mean, I don't know if you've seen a picture of him, but if you have, you'll see it.
Just wait until Josh Brolin's cast in the live action, and then that will fully confirm it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. No. So that is Sharky the Bounty Hunter #1, and that is available in shops now. And the full list of credits for that one is Mark Miller is the writer, and Simone Bianchi is the artist and colorist, and we've got Peter Doherty on letters here. So yeah, go ahead and check that out, and if you like it, maybe in a year's time, check out the Netflix flick when that drops. But it's cool, yeah, it's good. Moving on from there, I guess this is another thing that Netflix have done, which was a comic, and we're talking about Umbrella Academy, of course, which I'm just going to give you the TLDR for Umbrella Academy. So my takeaway from Umbrella Academy, I mean, Leon's read the comics, I've watched the show, and my takeaway... And
we haven't done the opposite.
Yeah, my takeaway from it, upon reading the comics, is that it is what happens when you put Majora's Mask, X-Men, and Watchmen into a blender.
Yeah, I can see some of that. I think part of that will probably be coming from the second volume, which I haven't read, but I know is adapted as part of that first season on Netflix. But yeah, I can see that. I can see those ingredients.
Yeah, knowing what I know about the comics tangentially, it leans heavily on the second volume, but for the Netflix show. But yeah, it's good. So why don't you give us a rundown of your impression of the comics?
Well, yeah. So this is a comic that I remember sometime after it came out. So this decade, someone mentioned to me that Gerard Way, the lead singer of My Chemical Romance, not only was a respected comics writer, but he had won an Eisner. And I was like, what? How did I not hear about this? How did this slip onto my radar?
Was it me that told you this?
No. It was one of the rare occasions not. But I remember hearing this and being like, this like mind boggled. Like, what?
I just
this is a weird combination of things.
Being very drunk somewhere at a rock night somewhere, and then like MCR comes on, like, and someone just kind of like sitting next to you, just it's kind of like drunkenly slurs into your ear. You know, that dude he makes comics, kind of thing. You know?
If only. Yeah, I remember hearing about that and hearing that it was good. And you know, I really like Free Cheers for Sweet Revenge. That is really, I wouldn't say fun, but it's I don't know, it's a really easy to listen to sort of emo-ish of that era, album to listen to. Listen to it again and again, and I thought, like, okay, let me see what he's. Because I didn't really check out anything musically he'd done mostly since then. especially not his solo stuff. So I was like, okay, I wonder what his take is. But then it just sat on my like in my mind palace forever, and I was like, oh, I'll get around to that. I'll get around to that. I'll get around to that. I'll get around to that as I'm consuming more and more comics. And then obviously I start. I like keep up to date on what Netflix are up to, and I usually add them to my list before they come out, so that they're just there when they're released. And this one came up, and I was like, "What? This is based on a comic, isn't it? Where do I know that title from?" And then Googled it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that one. Okay, cool." And obviously the show is now out. I just, as with most of these Netflix things, I just haven't had the time to watch it. But what I thought I would do is, because I know that, well, the run that won the Eisner is the Apocalypse Suite, and that's 6 issues, and it's the start of this whole story. And I thought 6 issues, that's not too bad. That's a nice length of an arc. So I thought, what I'll do, I'll read this, and then I'll watch a couple of episodes of the Netflix one to get into it. But lo and behold, I didn't have time to do that. But after reading this, I'm probably going to check it out, because it's quite enjoyable. I can see how it became popular and how it got a lot of love, because especially in the context of the time, because this would have been 2007. This is a time where I'm sure this is completely before the MCU. This is even before like The Dark Knight. This is before Watchmen. So just in terms of global comic zeitgeist, which sadly always come via the movies, it's coming out at quite a different time for comic books, at least on that stage.
When did the Black Parade drop? I feel like that was around then.
Possibly a couple of years before, maybe. I don't know. Something's telling me a particular year, but I'm unsure. I'm sure it was earlier.
I feel like that was 0607. October 23rd, 2006.
Okay.
So it comes at about the same time as the Black Parade, and like looking at the music video for the track The Black Parade, and like some of the album,
it does look like the book, yeah.
Yeah, it has that aesthetic, doesn't it? It really does.
Yeah.
So
the basic story is that some event happens where I think it's 46 or 47 babies are just born from women who weren't pregnant globally. Some supernatural phenomena causes this, and this super genius inventor, entrepreneur, scientist guy, Professor Hargreaves, he decides to Sir Reginald Hargreaves decides to try and find these kids and adopt them. In the end, he's only able to get 7, as many of these kids either got lost or didn't survive. And then he basically takes them back, and in a sort of Professor X way, has his academy where he's sort of trying to get their potential and see what special abilities they have. And some of them do have special abilities. So what the comic covers pretty well is what those dynamics would do and what happens when you have sort of a makeshift family in that sense. And it generally covers a lot of those themes, and we get brief times with the kids as they're younger, and they're assigned numbers instead of names. And then most of what happens in this run happens as they're adults, as they get together over the death of a character. And yeah, in terms of like different concepts and ideas, it's not kitchen sink level, but there's a lot of stuff in here. It's like robots, aliens, supernatural stuff, like cults, secret societies, robots, AI, there's all different types of things. But I think they do work well in terms of pushing the story and the themes that Wei and the artist Gabriel Ba are trying to convey. And I think that's what stops it going off the rails as like a just bizarre-a-thon. Instead, I think that it's pretty good at showing the dynamics and the tenuous connection that happens when it works whether you have like a sort of standard nuclear family and all your different tensions with your siblings and your parents, but also amplified when you're in a situation where it's not unconditional love from the parental figures, and they're treated in different and harsh ways. And I think that you can see in the writing elements of Wei's writing from back then, and the topics and themes and subject matter of, I guess, especially that Three Cheers and Black Parade era. You do see that a lot in the writing, but I think what he and Bar have done effectively here is place a lot of these concepts and themes into different characters, and as the comics go on, the numbers become names, and we start to get a better idea of the different interrelationships and the things they face, as well as the big like life-altering events that happens. Because one of the things that's part of the main story for this first run of books is that the world is going to end in a couple of days, and there's a character, one of the 7 kids who disappeared, and basically they know that there's going to be some sort of apocalyptic event happening, and the comic basically follows the group as they have to reconcile after not being together for so long, and also face this new threat that is coming. And yeah, it's good. I quite enjoyed it. I feel that in 6 issues, I was worrying because I was thinking, how are they going to get through so many things in 6 issues? But I think they do manage it. I think towards the end, some of it feels a bit rushed in terms of the intensity of the different events that are happening. Seem to ramp up in a way that maybe it would have been nicer to take a breath and like luxuriate in some a bit better. But I think it's quite effective in getting you to care about characters that you don't really get too much backstory on, and effectively world building this place, because it uses a lot of generic names like the town, the city, the academy, and all that. But it does have this sense of place, and you do feel like it is like a world and not a backdrop. And yeah, I can see why it resonated so well. I think what it does really well is it handles different things, such as like being really dark. It is really dark, and it handles loads of things, such as the things like sins of the fathers, manipulation, like senses of duty bumping up against having no sense of self, people like searching for self-worth and meaning, and just general like melancholy and like a really like harsh like skeletons in the closet family dynamic style. I'm not sure how they adapt it into the TV show, which I'll be checking out, but I assume that they will have to like change some things because not even just from like a brutality, but there's some things I don't think would work in a TV show that work really well on a comic. But
yeah, well, I mean, obviously I've watched the TV show, but I haven't really read the comics. I just know what I know tangentially and like from flicking through them and things and whatever else. But like from what I can tell, it's actually quite a good adaptation. And I honestly really enjoyed the show. Like I thought it was great. There's some really cool moments in there. I can see like I think what they've done is they've condensed Apocalypse Suite down. They've done that in a really nice way. I mean, the events might not play out exactly as they do in the books, but they've done it in a way that makes sense. And I think it's really cool. And I mean, my big takeaway from this was the fact that it is, in the same way that Watchmen is a subversion of the Justice League, this is a subversion of the X-Men. Because, you know, the X-Men were just a bunch of kids born with mutant powers, taken in and trained by Charles Xavier. Who knows what kind of lasting damage he's done to them, you know?
Yeah, and you do feel that a lot in there as a primary influence, whether conscious or unconscious. There's a lot of parallels between them and like having number one be the leader of the team in a sort of Cyclopsy role.
Yeah.
And like other characters sort of treated like freaks, other characters who didn't do things the way Hargreaves wanted are sort of shunned, and they like go their own path and turn their back on the family type thing. You do get a lot of that feeling and dynamic, and the X-Men dynamic works well as being like telling truths about actual like normal families through this heightened heightened situation. I think this then goes an extra step and brings it back with that as well. And there's a big feeling of displacement and people changing. Like time is a very big element in the book, at least, and how things change, but some things don't. In that very real way of like, if you don't see like family members or close friends for a long time, sometimes you'll still get back up, and then you're in a good situation. You'll pick up from where you left off, and it's like no time has gone at all. Whereas in sort of more fraught situations, it ends up like awkward, like you don't know each other, even though like you're connected.
Oh, indeed, yeah, 100%. And it's, I think it's a really great story, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And going back to the thing where I said that it shares an aesthetic with the Black Parade, well, that is because the illustrator for the album art for the Black Parade is a man called James Jean, and he also did covers for the Umbrella Academy.
Yes.
So he did the illustrations for the album art for the Black Parade. Obviously it's going to share the same aesthetic because it's Gerard Way, and it has this kind of like the thing that the Umbrella Academy has for me as well. It seems to be drenched in this this kind of like 19th century kind of like antiquity about it.
Yeah, because it's set during it feels like it's set during mid 20th century, but it has a lot of those old trappings.
Yeah.
For like good and bad, depending on like what you think they're like trying to say. Because you have styles like say the monocle, Sir Reginald Hargreaves, the sort of father figure. He does just the look of them, the type of sort of retro future inventions that he's come up with. There's a lot of that sort of feeling, that and a lot of that British feeling, to the degree where, like on a more negative side. But I think it's there to talk more about the character. But who knows? Because he doesn't really say much. He does have like a personal assistant called Abhijat, who's who's also like the pilot of his main ship. And at least for the Apocalypse Suite, this character who is sort of dressed up in a similar way to how I think it would have been Seek's dressed in close to the time of the Raj. He is sort of dressed in that style, and he looks like he's competent with like a weapon as well, but he doesn't really have any lines. And I think he's meant to be possibly in that sort of butlery,
butler come bodyguard type thing.
Yeah, in the same way of like a mix between like a Wraith Bannon and an Alfred. I guess modern Alfred, who used to be like a soldier, that reading of Alfred. But because he doesn't really have much input in the beginning, it does feel a bit awkward at times. And my only hope is that in the next run, that he's given a bit more to do. Because otherwise it sort of feels awkward having a character like that. Like I don't think you'd do that now. Or you'd hope that wouldn't be done now, but this was back in 2007.
Now it might read as a little bit insensitive, I guess.
Yes. But like, I think, because what they do, they mix a lot of styles in there as well. So certain characters speak to different styles. So like some of the stuff to do with like space and the moon feels like of that 60s space race. And I know that the next run, the next volume, Dallas, is meant to be focused on like that 60s era of JFK. So I'm interested to see what they do with that. But it is a mix of those different styles for different characters.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I do like this whole, like, kind of steampunk come Victoriana type thing that it has going on in places. I do quite like that. And I think it works well for the story that it's telling. And yeah, I mean, all in all, I feel like it's probably quite a good adaptation. And I really want to read the comics now.
Yeah, I'd recommend it.
I know the comics are very different as much as they are the same. But I really do want to read the comics, and I think that's going to be one. They are the next thing on my list, and I will get around to it. I wanted to have them read in time for this episode, but I don't think that was going to happen somehow.
Yeah, I wanted to have the show watched as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's our homework. I'll watch the show, you read the comic.
Yeah, and we can swap notes again.
And talking of the comic, I'll just say, so it's Umbrella Academy Apocalypse Suite, which came out 2007, 6 parts, but you get it in a trade. It's a Dark Horse comic, story by Jared Way, art by Gabriel Barr, colours by Dave Stewart, and lettering by Blambot's Nate Piekos.
And if you want something that is a little bit Umbrella Academy, then check out the album The Black Parade, which I'm sure probably some of you are already very aware of.
Well, I was saying at the beginning, like I was a Free Chess or Sweet Revenge person. I think I was not in the right headspace for Black Parade because I wasn't a fan of teenagers and blah blah blah. But you know what? I bet if I threw them on Spotify now, they would be my jam. I
bet if you went back to it now and viewed it through the lens of Umbrella Academy, you'd be on it.
Yeah. Because I think this comic, if he was never allowed, say they said that no, you're a music guy, you can't make comics. If he released an album, there's so much elements in there that I could see him making a concept album based on those elements. Because a lot of the themes do cross over to what I've heard from Black Parade, and definitely to what I've heard on Free Chess and Sweet Revenge.
I'm just looking at some of the artwork from the inside of the album cover now, and there's like girls in band uniforms wearing domino masks, and it's just like, come on, man. But yeah, no, it's great. And I mean, I will come out and I will say I kind of poo-pooed this album when it came out originally. I was a little more closed off where my music tastes were concerned. I mean, I always preferred heavier music anyway, but I don't know why I had this like negative view of My Chemical. I had this negative view of this out. There were tracks from Three Cheers of Sweet Revenge that I would listen to and still listen to now. Like, I'm not a fan of the whole album. There's just particular tracks I like. And I poo-pooed this album when it originally came out, but now, upon viewing the artwork again and everything else, and knowing Umbrella Academy and things, I'm thinking maybe I should go back and check it out again. Might actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we go. There we go. So yeah,
Tetris and emo music, they're back, baby.
I'm gonna go eat some humble pie later, I think. Yeah. For all the things that I've said against My Chemical Romance, I actually secretly quite like My Chemical Romance. But yeah, no. So moving on from Umbrella Academy and Greg eating enormous slices of humble pie, we're going to go on to the second item of news that I had for you guys, which was some Ghostbusters news. Yes. So what's happening is IDW are relaunching Transformers next month, this month even, which I'm going to talk about. There's a new basically there's going to be a new Transformers #1, and I'm going to talk about that when we get to the poll list. But what I wanted to bring up was the fact that this summer, June, I believe it is, we are getting a Transformers and Ghostbusters crossover comic by IDW, by my favourite Transformers, Ghostbusters creative team, which is Dan Schooning, Luis Antonio Delgado, and Eric Burnham. So that's Eric Burnham's the writer, Dan Schooning will be your artist, and Luis will be your colourist. And I am really, really excited about this and looking forward to it, because some of the promo art looks gorgeous. The premise, from what I can make out, from what we can see in front of us, sounds great. And I'm just looking. I mean, this all comes off the back of, as well, some news we've had on the toy front for Transformers, where they're doing a Transformers Ghostbusters. I mean, this is like to do with the fact that there's been 35 years of Ghostbusters as well. So Ghostbusters is 35 years old, and I believe Transformers might have started around the same time, which would be 1984. And we're getting a crossover toy called Ectotron, which is a Transformer that is also a Ghostbuster. That is Ecto-1. So it's Ecto-1 turns into a robot with a proton pack. I mean, how cool is that? Like, 10-year-old Greg, right, just like made a hole in the wall. Like, literally just ran at the wall and made a hole in the wall, full tilt, screaming at that news. But yeah, it's just fantastic. And obviously I'll be buying the toy if I can get my hands on one. And I'll be well into these comics. And we've got some promo art. Ectotron makes an appearance in the comics. Starscream's Ghost, which if you are a fan of the Transformers cartoon, the original, you will know about Starscream's Ghost. You will know that Starscream has he dies and he comes back as a ghost. Galvatron kills him in the animated movie, and Starscream returns as a ghost later on in the series. Now, we'll find out later on in the Beast Wars series that Starscream's spark is indestructible. It means his spirit cannot be destroyed. He is something that will be eternal. And Starscream's Ghost appears to be featured quite heavily in this, so I think Starscream's Ghost has something to do with this as a primary villain. And we have some promo art where the old Ghostbusters logo with the red kind of like circle with the line through it. Well, we've got the Ghost replaced with Starscream. So we've got that at the moment for some promo art. We've got a kind of panorama like battle thing going on, like with a bit that's been redacted. It's got a big black block over it and it says top secret. I think that looks like it's going to be a bunch of joining covers. So I think there's going to be some covers by Dan Schooning and Louise that will join up like when you link them together, they'll make one big long picture, and there's part of that missing and it's blacked out, but we know what's going to be there. It's either going to be Starscream's ghost or it's going to be Gozer, because we've also got artwork depicting a transformerized version of Gozer, for want of a better word, a Cybertronian Gozer with the 2 Pterodogs either side of her. Her Gozer is whatever it wants to be, to paraphrase the movie. There's some letters on this as well. So it says, but they had other things to worry about, and Gozer is there, and Gozer is saying, "Cybertron, the traveler has come." So I think we have an idea of how this is going to work and what's going to happen and how this is going to play out. I think Gozer's going to be the big bad. I think we're going to get Cybertronian Gozer. I think Ectotron is going to play a huge role, and he's going to be on Earth with the Ghostbusters. I think we're also going to get Starscream's ghost, and I think Starscream's ghost might have something to do with the coming of Gozer on Cybertron. I don't know. Stop me if I'm speaking gibberish now, Leon.
What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm dead excited about this, and I've been reading a bit of news around it, and it's looking good. So yeah, this is one of those things for me to look forward to. So I've got this and Usagi coming up in the summer, so I'm going to be on that.
Christmas come early.
Yeah, and this Ectotron toy is looking pretty sweet. I mean, from what I can tell, it's going to be around 45 quid.
That's not the worst.
Yeah. I'm not sure how big it's going to be. Yeah, I'm not sure how big it's going to be, but I'm hoping it's going to be roughly the size of the Ghostbusters Ecto 1 Lego kit that I've got. Because that would be a decent size for it, I think. And there's going to be... So if you've ever seen the Ghostbusters Ecto 1 Lego kit that you can get, is roughly the same. If it's roughly the size of that Lego kit, I think we'll be happy people. And you get like a little Slimer toy with it as well. So in the spirit of the same way that the original Ghostbusters toys, the Kenner ones, in the way back, used to come with like a little translucent plastic ghost. This comes with a little translucent plastic Slimer, which will be pretty cool. So yeah, and that's all we know so far. So I am excited, indeed. And these promo images are hot. Like these little bits of promo art we're seeing of the comic art. I mean, it's Dan Schooning doing Dan Schooning. I mean, he, as far as I'm concerned, when he draws Ghostbusters, he can't put a foot wrong. Like, the love and the care, you can tell that he's a major fan. The love and the care and attention that goes into it. And same goes for the other two on here, like Eric Burnham when he writes, Luisa's Colours, like, those guys as a team, like, you can tell they are fans of the franchise. And with what they are doing, it 100% shows that they are fans of the franchise. And I am 100% invested in them being able to work on Transformers as well, because I think they're going to do a majorly great job with it. I really do. I'm looking at this. I'm already like the way that the Transformers are being depicted here in this artwork. I'm already on top of that because they've gone for the original G1 designs, and they've kept it very, very close to what the G1s look like. And what the toys look like. And I'm quite into that. I'm quite enamored with that. So yeah, more of this, please, IDW. More of this. I'm excited about this.
Well, it's cool that we're in a zone now where the just macro pandering is a bad word for it, but sort of targeting of nostalgia has now shifted from Gen X, who we got the tail end of a lot of that stuff. I mean, This is a lot of 80s stuff still, but now it's sort of moved over to millennials almost fully. and especially, and then you get the multiplied fact of that when it's stuff that millennials watch, which are technically Gen X stuff. So you get stuff like the Bumblebee movie and things like that. So it's cool to see.
Let's play a game. Actually, what do you think, millennial wise, is going to make a comeback? From like the 90s, I'm talking exclusively the 90s. What do you think will be making a comeback soon? Maybe it'll get a comic, or maybe it will make a comeback in animation. What can you see coming back? Because I've got a couple here that I'm thinking we might see a return. We might see.
Well, considering we've only got 11 or so years before climate change / global warming really hits the fan, I can see Captain Planet on his way back. I think I wouldn't surprise me if it's being made right now. Yeah,
I ditto with that. See, I was thinking less along the lines of global catastrophe and more along the lines of Ren and Stimpy. But
well, Ren and Stimpy was back in a more adult form on like Adult Swim or something a couple of years after it ended on Nickelodeon. But I could see that coming back.
See, that's still over 10 years ago, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
but mine wasn't that it was going to be a charitable thing. It's still corporations.
Yeah,
they'd be like,
obviously.
yeah, people are worried about global warming at the moment, and this whole talk of like a Green New Deal. You know what?
Yeah.
Let's milk them. Bring back Captain Planet.
Exactly. Yeah. But I can fully see, like possibly something like Ren and Stimpy getting a comic. Like
yeah.
A very adult, very crass comedy comic kind of thing.
I don't think that's strange or off the realms of possibility at all.
Exactly, yeah. It's one of the things that I'd put money on, actually. That, and maybe even things like Dexter's Lab, actually. Maybe Cartoon Network would publish a cartoon, like IDW could do like a Cartoon Network cavalcade thing, where it's like an anthology with cartoon stuff in it.
Do you think they'd be Adult Swimmed and be like more adult, or do you think they would go for go for like the sort of age target they
were already relatively cheeky.
Yeah. But I mean, do you think because times have changed now, so you can be a lot cheekier?
I think they might Adult Swim it a little bit. Like because it's a comic, they might be able to get away with a little bit more.
Because they've still been publishing stuff like that. I guess there hasn't been one for a while, but they were still making comics for those cartoons for a while, weren't they? Yeah,
I think so. But I mean, like, I'm thinking, like, I've not seen it on the stands for a long time. That's the kind of thing, like, I would love to see that on the stands, like an anthology, a cartoon anthology book every month, and we get like a short Dexter strip in there. We get a short, like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends strip in there, like just something like that where you've just got like, I don't know, 5 stories per book.
You know what would be really cool? If all those MTV things like the Max, Aeon Flux, the Head and all that, if they got new runs, because I think the Max actually was republished. I'm not sure if it got a new run, but if all those things came back with like fresh runs, that would be really cool.
Well, the Max has had a recent revival where him and Batman have crossed paths.
Yeah, I thought there was something like that because I knew the books had been re-released, but I was sure that there was some sort of new content with that as well.
Yeah,
but yeah, if the rest of them came back, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, but yeah, speculation aside, I think, I mean, as much as the world's ending and as much as the summer might be 40 degrees and, the earth will be scorched and we'll lose 20% more wildlife or whatever, at least I'm going to get a Ghostbusters and Transformers crossover comic.
You can read it on the Titanic as it sinks.
I'll laminate it so I can read it when Britain's underwater, when the icebergs melt. When it's Waterworld and we're all Kevin Costner.
Or what, drinking our own pee?
Yeah. My raft will
I
just
can see
be,
that.
yeah, raft made of comics, just floating.
I'm surprised you wouldn't get a comic tattooed on your back.
A raft made of plastic milk cartons or something.
I thought it was going to be the boxes that you store your comics in. Keep you afloat.
No, they'll be on top of the raft. Got to keep those dry, man. You know? But yeah, definitely. And I think that brings us to the end, aside from some news concerning everyone's favourite Japanese collectible tradable pocket monsters. Because we're getting some new Pokemon games. The end of this year, I think they've said, haven't they? They said late 2019 is the release date, and they're going to be on the Switch. And this will be this is gaming news, but hold up, because I am going to make it comics. I'm going to make it comics adjacent. I am, because this is the Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, and me and Leon have been knee deep in Sword and Shield memes. Yes,
the internet has been set ablaze by memes that range, because the location is sort of generically based on different elements of Britain, it seems, because part of it has some like Londony looking bits. There's been a few memes where everyone was talking Cockney, but the majority of the memes are based on bad Scottish, because the female trainer, who is shown prominently in the trailer, is wearing a sort of bonnet / beret type cap that is very Scottish in appearance,
and she's got the Aaron jumper on.
Yes,
and she's looking particularly. She's got some particularly stereotypically Scottish attire on, basically.
Yes, and so I'd say 90% of the memes have been like bad The memes have been so much like bad Scottish memes, is that Scottish people have had to get involved and reclaim the meme for themselves. And no, this is actual Scottish, and it's been really great. Like, they've all been really good.
You could just imagine them, like, Scottish people sighing at it to the point where they're just like, nope.
No, we've got to get in front of this.
Yeah, we've got to do something about this. The only way to fix this is to actually wade in and start fixing it. And that's
when they recently had to sit through all those bad Merida ones for Wreck-It Ralph 2, and they've just had enough. They're like, nope, we're claiming this. This is our meme. So it's been really good, and all of them, the ones based on like Scotland and the one based on like England, have been really good.
Yeah. Especially when Americans are making poor attempt at joining in.
Yeah.
Sorry, Americans, but there's just certain things of the British vernacular and that you just haven't quite got yet. Yeah,
we love to get dragged by Yanks.
Yes, we do. It's our favourite hobby over here in good old Blighty, governor. No, So, I mean, like, apart from that, this is looking really great. It's something that I've actually wanted for a long time, because I remember thinking about other Pokemon regions and thinking, wouldn't it be cool if they based one on the United Kingdom? And, like, because although we all make fun of Britain, living in Britain, you know, we're in the midst of some kind of political apocalypse where no one can agree on how to run the country, and at the same time, you know, like, it's just chaos, and we're getting nosedived into it. It just feels like we have a kamikaze pilot for a prime minister right now, and it's just terrible. But I mean, like, as bad as Britain can be when we see the news here in Britain, when we see all the doom and gloom, I think Britain has a lot of great things to offer. There's a lot of history there. There's a lot of really cool things about Britain. A lot of really unique things about Britain, and I think this game is going to pick up on some of that and showcase it in a really cool way. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to. And when I'm thinking about, like, different Pokemon regions and stuff, and I'm thinking about the way they do different Pokemon regions, I'm thinking, you know, like the way they did France when they did Kalos region. I'm looking forward to seeing how they deal with Britain in this, and I think it's going to be quite nice.
And that's the thing, for someone like me who's been out the game, who had yellow, silver, and what was it? Ruby? No, Sapphire. I've been out of the game since Sapphire. So, but this is the Pokemon game I've wanted since I was young, because what it is, and this is because of the Switch, it's a Pokemon game I can play on my TV and also play portable and handheld.
Yes. It's the Holy Grail, the unicorn, the fully realized 3D Pokemon game on a home console,
and it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, it does, and it's I mean, everything about it looks pretty cool. I mean, I'm hype about all 3 starters for once. Like, there's usually, like, when I look at the designs for the starter Pokemon, which is the Pokemon you're given at the beginning of your adventure, there's usually, like, one that stands out, and the other 2 I can be, you know, fairly calm about leaving behind. I don't care, you know. I mean, this time I have a favourite still. I mean, I still like Scorbunny, because Scorbunny just he just looks ultra scrappy. I mean, look at him with his plasters over his nose and everything, and he just looks like an ultra scrappy, tough little cookie, and he's the guy I want with me on an adventure. But I mean, the other
who doesn't love a fire starter? Exactly.
Yes. I mean, the big worry in the Pokemon community at the moment is that he's going to be another firefighting starter, because we've had plenty of those. We've had Torchic, I think, ended up as a firefighting, like, with Blaziken.
Blaziken, yeah.
And you had Tepig that ended up firefighting, and you had there's been a few of them. Infernape, I think, was one from I think that was Sinnoh region. Let me just check that, because my Pokemon knowledge is, like, really, really, really smoky at the moment. So yeah, Infernape. Chimchar is the starter. It goes Chimchar, Monferno, Infernape, and I think he was the Sinnoh starter. And then you had Torchic, who was your Torchic into Blaziken. I think that was Hoenn, which was Pokemon Ruby Sapphire. And yeah, it's just another basically, like, they're like too many firefighting types. So he's either got to be straight fire, or he's got to be fire something else. Because if he's going to be firefighting again, a lot of people will be disappointed. I mean, it won't bother me too much, but I'm thinking, you know, for the sake of originality, it might be nice. You know,
let's get a fire psychic.
We've had that.
Not as a starter.
Yeah.
Fennekin. Who was that?
Fennekin.
God, there's too much Pokemon.
Fennekin wound up as a fire psychic type. Which was,
okay, fire water then. It surely isn't one of those.
Well, people are thinking that they might like Fire Fairy because of the interesting type resistances and things like that, because of steel types and such. But we'll see.
God, this is like
way
beyond that. After I left.
To tie this back to comics, because we're a comics podcast, right? So to tie this back to comics, in preparation for this, in the lead up, obviously this has reignited the Pokemon fires inside me. The cogs are turning, and I went and started diving back into the Pokemon Adventures comics, which are like the original black and white ones, published in 1997. And they were translated by Viz and brought over here. These are like the manga, Pokemon manga, and these were, in Japan they're known as Pocket Monster Special. They're pretty cool. There's a lot of them, and they kind of follow the games in the way that the main characters or the main protagonists, antagonists, or whatever are named the way that they are in the game. So red, blue, green, yellow, etc. Are characters in this. Silver, gold, that's the names of the characters. And the man behind Pokemon, Satoshi Tajiri, has gone on record to say that Pocket Monster Special is the closest to what he imagined the Pokemon world to be. So this is the man that was the CEO of Game Freak, possibly still is the CEO of Game Freak. I don't know about that. I don't know, Leon, do you?
No, this is a Greg thing.
Yeah. He's the guy. He's gone on record and said, this is like, you know, like this is the closest thing to realizing what I, you know, when I made these games, what I imagined the Pokemon world to be. So it's kind of like a cool place to go and a cool thing to read. And alongside maybe replaying a couple of the games, which I might do, I'm going to be reading this and embarking on that journey once more. Because I have read these before in the past, but I'm going to go back to them and check them out again, because I think they're really cool comics, and they're really cool Pokemon comics. And it's a bit different. I mean, everyone knows about Ash Ketchum. Everyone knows about, you know, his triumphs and tribulations throughout the Indigo League and Johto and all these other adventures that Ash has been on and never aged. But like, because I'm sure he's still 10, but this is just basically just like a different way of looking at it and a different avenue, and I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, I'm down with these comics, and I think I'm gonna, maybe in time for the next show I will have read more and be able to talk about them a little bit better than I am now. But yeah, these are my jam right now, and that's how I tie Pokemon to comics. Just so I could shoehorn in my love for the game. Yeah, and I think that brings us to the end of the show.
Well, not yet. I did want to speak briefly about two things.
Oh, I can't believe I almost forgot this. I know what this is going to be, but carry on.
One is that so I haven't been on like the last episode, which is kind of serendipitous because now Life is Strange has finished, and the recent last issue came out, of a 4-part series came out last Wednesday, I believe. And I just wanted to add to the things I'd said on previous episodes about like the first issue, and I think it does wrap up in a really cool way. So this is the Titan Comics book, which is based on the Square Enix published game from a couple of years back about Max and Chloe, two friends who from like the Seattle area, and Max in the game has an ability where she can reverse time, and yeah, and like to say hijinks ensue is kind of reductive. Yes, hijinks ensue. Anyway, the book being set like a year after the ending and events of the game, I was wondering how they would sort of tie things up and wrap them up, and I think that they do. I think what they're able to achieve is giving you a bittersweet send-off, which is at both a happy and a sad ending, and I think they're able to walk that line really well. And I was satisfied, and I was satisfied with the whole journey these 4 issues have taken, and it does. Every time I'm reading it, it does make me want to go back and play the game again. So yeah, it's good for that effect. But I think that they do a good job of wrapping stuff up, and anyone who was sort of on the fence before but like this idea of it and was going to wait, I'd say now's a great time because all 4 issues are out, done. You can there'll probably be a trade at some point, or you can just jump on to something like Comixology, which is how I read them. So yeah, that's a thumbs up for me. I think that there is this sense of like not belonging and this sort of detachment from life, and I think a lot of the themes work well with the sci-fi / supernatural concept, and that is Life is Strange, Titan Comics, written by Emma Vicelli, artwork by Claudia Leonardi, colors by Andrea Izzo, and lettering by Richard Starkins and comic crafts Jimmy Betancourt.
Yeah, I need to play Life is Strange first, then I can start reading it.
I highly recommend it. It's I think it was a good take on that type of new age adventure game.
I need to check that out because I mean, you guys make it sound so good. like the way you and Ray talk about it. You make it sound so good. So it's something that I want to check out, and when I've got time, I will sit down and play through the games because I really want to. By the way, just to go back to the previous item, Satoshi Tajiri is still the CEO of Game Freak, and according to, looking at this, he still very much gets involved with the production of Pokemon games. He's the executive producer on every Pokemon game since Fire Red and Leaf Green, where he was scenario writer and executive director, and then on the other games he was like more involved than that. But yeah, so yeah, he's still your guy. The last thing on the last item that you were going to bring up, Leon.
Yes. The last thing I wanted to bring up, and this sort of works as news as well, is obviously we've done an episode in the past on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So if you've not listened to it, go back and check that out. And if you've not seen the movie, definitely check that out. I think it's on iTunes and video on demand, and it's out on Blu-ray next month or later this month. But but obviously we're big fans of that film here, and it sort of completed its journey last Sunday, where it won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature.
It got a gold Naked Man.
Yes, it got a gold Naked Man to go with all the other gold it's been picking up, and it's been pretty cool because in the preceding weeks it's won the Golden Globes, won the BAFTA, won the Annie, which is always for me a good sign because it's like the peers in animation, and it was nice because as much as I enjoyed some of the other movies that were nominated, I was worrying that the sort of Disney Pixar machine would swallow this movie, which has done like a fraction of the box office as some of these other movies have done. But the movie seems to have resonated with audiences who have seen it and the peers and critics alike. So it's nice to see it get its due on the biggest stage and sort of join that pantheon. And for me, it's really nice to see one of the directors. So it's got 3 co-directors, and one of the directors, Peter Ramsey, is the first black person to ever have won Best Animated Feature. So it's really nice for me to see that, and I'm really interested to see what all 3, what Paraschetti and what Rothman do, as well as Ramsey in the future. I expect lots of interesting projects from these guys, and I expect that from the industry as a whole following this movie and what it's managed to do. So I just wanted to pop that in there and have a little yay.
Yeah, I'm impressed and happy that it won that. I like that. I mean, I don't know one person that's been to see that film and has come out with a negative impression of it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, so, yeah, big up Spider-Verse. Well done, Spider-Verse. And that finally brings us to the end of the show. So what I'm going to do now is just run through the pull list very quickly. It's only my pull list, and Leo, you got any items there, Leon?
No, my pull list is in the past because I'm currently going through and trying to finish up a lot of the comics that I've started, and I've been doing a good job of it, actually. So you expect me to speak about old stuff next episode.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to be doing that as well because I'm going to be diving back into some other things. But there's a few things here that I may bring in to talk about. So, notably, we've got a comic that's coming out this week, 3rd of the 6th. So when 6th of the 3rd, even. So when this podcast is available, you'll be able to find this comic on shelves. And this podcast, this comic is called Astro Hustle #1. So it's Astro Hustle, and this will be Astro Hustle #1. So the blurb for this one: Chen Andalou, the black sheep of a prominent activist family, returns after being accidentally put in cryostasis for 60 years. Chen is a cosmic criminal, wakes up to find his brother-in-law is now the president of the galaxy. Chen does what he knows best. He steals stuff and causes a problem. And looking at the cover, it's got kind of this 70s sci-fi aesthetic going on, space piratey thing. Very in the Flash Gordon, Star Wars, that kind of era, as far as costumes and aesthetic goes, looking at the cover. So I'm quite interested in that. I think that's going to be quite fun. And we have the creators of this, we've got Jai Nitz, or Jay Nitz, Ursula Decay, Greg Smallwood, Tom Riley, and Chris Crank. So Jai Nitz is the writer, Ursula Decay inker. Greg Smallwood has done variant cover for it. Greg Smallwood worked on the Vampironica comics. Tom Riley is the pencil and cover artist, and Chris Crank is the colorist. On from there, the same week we've got Blossoms 666 number 2. We've done a show. We've talked about Blossoms 666 on another show. So if you want to hear about Redhead Murder Teens, go check out the previous episode where we talk about it. I think it's probably like 3 episodes ago now, maybe. We've got, or possibly just the 2. We've got Cosmic Ghost Rider Destroys Marvel History number 1. Which I can hear Leon seething at that already just from the title.
I didn't realise I actually left my camera on.
So, Cosmic Ghost Rider is stuck in the past, so he might as well have some fun with the origins of the Marvel Universe, right? After going back in time and trying to kill Thanos as a baby, Frank Castle has sworn off trying to alter history. But when he arrives in Earth's past at the birth of the Fantastic Four, how can he resist jumping in on the fun? And we have writer Paul Scheer, artist Todd Nook. We've got other writers, Nick Giovanetti, Nathan Stockman is an artist on this. Gerardo Zaffino is a cover artist. And we've got variant covers by Rob Liefeld. Yes, there is a Rob Liefeld cover.
No judgment.
I'm trying to find which one the Rob Liefeld cover is. If I find it, then I might actually buy the Rob Liefeld one just because. But yeah. There we go, Cosmic Ghost Rider, more of it. We've talked about Cosmic Ghost Rider on this show previously. You'll be able to find it. And I made a Cosmic Ghost Rider playlist on Spotify, which you'll also be able to find as well through our website. The playlist is literally called Cosmic Ghost Rider if you want to try and find it on Spotify. But yeah. And the last one for 6th of March is called Morning in America. And that one... that's got this kind of like I know this like early 90s, late 80s monster movie, B-movie aesthetic thing going on when I look at the cover. It looks kind of cool. I quite like it.
It's got a cool title. I like the title.
Yeah. The year is 1983. A series of disappearances afflicts Tucker, Ohio, following the opening of a mysterious new factory. But when the town finds itself under siege from strange monsters, it's up to intrepid girl gang of no-account teen delinquents to try and figure out what's happening and save everyone's lives before it's too late. So I'm kind of on board with that. That one's Oni Press. So
okay.
Yeah, that one's going to be published by Oni Press. I should have mentioned that Cosmic Ghost Rider is quite obviously Marvel. Blossoms 666 is Archie, and Astro Hustle is going to be published by Dark Horse Comics. I should have mentioned, actually. That's the one I missed. So Morning in America, we've got the writer is Magdalene Visaggio. We've got a artist and cover artist, Claudia Aguirre, or Aguirre, and we've got Elizabeth Beals is the variant cover artist. So I'm very much looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it's just been sounding better the more you've said about it. So yeah, I'll be checking that out.
Yeah, it does sound like a Leon.
Damn it! I'm trying to catch up with other comics.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm probably going to ask them to put that on my pull list. Actually, I'm probably not going to chance one of those being left on the shelf because it looks like the kind of thing like just on the cover alone, people might pick it up because it looks rad as hell. Rad as hell. I mean, we've got like some skeleton woman with blonde hair, tilting down her sunglasses with the reflection of what I guess is this delinquent girl gang reflected in the glasses, and she's got like these like eyes glowing from behind the glasses. And then Morning in America is in this very kind of like 80s B-movie font, like bright colours, and yeah, it's just, you know, it looks... I don't know if I've more early 90s, late 80s than late 80s, maybe, I don't know, but it just looks the kind of thing that you've probably seen on a VHS cover when you've been to the video shop when you were a kid, like in the movies that your parents would never ever in a million years let you rent. But there we go, yeah. So moving on to the following week, we've got this is 3rd, 13th, to round off our trio of Conan comics for these this return of Conan to the pages of Marvel. We've got Conan Age of Bailit #1, which I talked about a little bit on the previous show, so you can go back and listen to that. If you want to hear us bang on about Conan, it's on there, and it's on show... Is it the show previous to that I talked about a Conan comic? Maybe the show before that. But yeah, there's some previous Conan talk if you want to go through and catch up on that. We've got Buffy the Vampire Slayer #3, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder in Hell #2, which is something else we've talked about previously, and IDW's Transformers #1, which I mentioned at the beginning of the show. But what I want to do is just read the blurb out and give you kind of an air about what's going on. So, a new era dawns in the infinite universe. There exists a planet like no other, Cybertron, home to the Transformers and a thriving hub of interstellar commerce. It is a world brimming with organic and constructed diversity. Immense structures line its landscape. Mechanical giants roam across its surface. Starship-sized titans orbit its skies, keeping a constant protective watch above and below. Ancient Transformers merge into its very fabric. Small mysterious creatures skulk in its shadows, and it is a truly amazing realm. Long untouched by war and exuberantly reaching for the stars, this is the Cybertron that Optimus Prime and Megatron vie for in this bold new origin, a world of seemingly endless peace. All that changes when Bumblebee and Windblade take a newly forged Cybertronian on his first voyage through this world of wonders. They are confronted by the hard reality of the first murder to have occurred on Cybertron in living memory. Oh wait, I'm getting mixed up and I'm getting a line ahead of myself there. So, in a world of seemingly endless peace, and then it goes... All that changes when Bumblebee and Windblade take a newly forged Cybertronian on his first voyage through this world of wonders. They are confronted by the hard reality of the first murder to occur on Cybertron in living memory. And then we get... Oh. It repeats itself on this website. So where I'm reading this from, the blurb actually repeats itself. So it's not me. I'm not going crazy. The internet's going crazy. But yeah, there we go. And it just sounds pretty cool. So it's like a whole... This is like... I think this is IDW, like, starting Transformers afresh. Because they've had a long history publishing Transformers comics. They've told a story. A great story. We had the last issue, the final issue of Lost Light. And I think this is a fresh beginning. A fresh beginning for Transformers. And it looks quite nice. The designs are pretty G1 centric, which I can always get behind. And yeah, I mean, I will probably check this out. We have Brian Ruckley as a writer, Gabriel Rodriguez cover artist, Angel Hernandez is the artist and variant cover artist. Casey Collar is a variant cover artist. Freddie Williams is a variant cover artist, and John Gallagher also does a variant cover after this. So. Yeah, something to look forward to. And that is the end of the pull list, and that brings us to the end of the show. So you can find... This has been Ace Comicals episode number 57. You can find us at www.acecomicals.com, which is kind of the hub for everything we do. You can find us to listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn and Castro. We are on Instagram under Ace Comicals. You can find us on Twitter at Ace Comicals. You can ask us questions, send us your silly scenarios, your stupid questions, anything, you know, mildly entertaining, anything that you think that we should argue about or debate or try to answer on here, just go for it. and we will try to answer it on the show or get involved with the conversation. Like anything, if you listen to the show and you want to give us your opinion on something we've talked about, just at us on Twitter or something and just get involved and just tell us what you think. You can also send emails to us at acecomicals@gmail.com, and you can find me on Twitter at Batto, that's Battou. And Leon, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Leon Everett.
Okay, so that has been Ace Comicals number 57. So that is Ace Comicals, over and out.